Hey lovelies, welcome back. It's your girl Katie here, and today's video is going to be a chatty video slash a life update video. I don't have any products to review or any unboxings I'm going to be doing. This is just literally me sitting down in front of the camera and just chatting with you guys. So if that's not something that you're really into, that's okay. You can click off the video and the next video should be something about makeup. But I don't know, I'm kind of feeling a certain way. I'm kind of in this headspace right now, and I kind of just wanted to get in front of camera and just kind of vent about it, or just kind of like spill it all, I guess. I don't know even really what to label this video as. Also, FYI, you may hear a bunch of background noise. My daughter is needing a nap, and my husband's in there taking care of her, so you may hear her scream, fuss, maybe laugh, I don't know. She's all over the place right now. But anyways, back to what I was saying. This video, FYI, just a warning, this video may be all over the place because I don't really have like a script to go off of. This is literally going to be just raw, just me talking. I have a direction that I kind of want to go, but I'm not, like, I don't have a step-by-step guide for myself because that's just not who I am. I like to be organized, but I don't like to be that organized because I also like to be real. So that's why I decided to do this like this. But anyways, so the point of this video is to give you guys somewhat of a life update. Not that I'm really like a busy person that has a lot to say, but it's mostly to just let you guys kind of know my struggles, I guess, recently, and maybe to be somewhat relatable. Because, to be honest, I do kind of want to connect more with you all, in terms of, like, that stuff. Like, you know, I'm human, too. I'm not just a person in front of the camera showing you guys products. I don't want my channel to be only that. My goal is to never try to get you guys to buy things. I will probably never be that type of person. Yes, I love reviewing makeup, and I like telling my opinions on things, but they're my opinions, and I just love sharing stuff with you guys. Anyways, so to no further ado, let's just get on into this video. So life update. I guess we'll just start off with the basic. Life update. Not that I have, like, again, not that I'm like a person that has the most exciting life, but, you know, I think the last time I did a life update was about a year ago, and it was a little over a year ago, and I kind of did an update on, you know, my daughter being born, you know, what kind of happened, like that whole ordeal. And if you guys need a recap, I gave birth to my daughter. I had to have a C-section. After my C-section, about a month or so later, I ended up in the hospital because I had an infected gallbladder, which then had to be removed. I then had to go back in because I was having pain again, and they missed a stone that they had to then have removed. And this was all in a span of like a month after giving birth, or, you know, having a C-section. I call it giving birth. It is birth. So yeah, so it was a lot. And it just seems like it was one thing after another. So last year was super, super stressful for me. Not only was I having health issues, which were able to be, you know, fixed, but, you know, after that I had other health issues. I was a new mom, so that itself is a big adjustment. So it was a lot. Last year was a very stressful year, I will say that. Now this year, it's been better in some cases. Like, it's not as stressful when it comes to my daughter. She's a year old now. She's over a year old now. I stopped counting after a year. I don't do the month things anymore. You know, after 12 months, I kind of stopped because I was like, she's a year. Yes, I need to know what size in her clothes she is, like month-wise, but I just tell people she's over a year. Anyway, she's been great. She is a sweetie. Yeah, she's your typical 1-year-old. She's great. Me, on the other hand, I feel like I'm a basket case. I feel like last year was so stressful, and then this year I feel like everything mentally has been just rough. I just started to get into this headspace, and I was having trouble getting out of it, and so now I'm in therapy, which has been great. I'm not gonna, like, no diss on therapy, but like, I'm really happy. I'm really happy that I decided to go to therapy because I think it's what I needed. But at the time, it was hard for me to, it wasn't really hard for me to get into therapy, but it was hard to decide to go to therapy in a way, because as someone who believes in God, or has faith, faith, belief, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it is what it is. I don't like to label myself. I don't like to put myself in a box, so I don't like to label what I believe in. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. So that's just mostly what I tell people, because there's so many different religions out there, and I don't even want to get into that. But anyways, so as someone that believes in God and Jesus, it was kind of hard for me to decide to go to therapy anyway, because you believe in God, so you feel like, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like, well, I have God. I should be able to fix these things between me and him. And I just feel like it's hard, because I feel like, well, I struggle, because it's like, well, do I not have enough faith to be able to fix these issues that I'm having? Is it me? It's hard, because I've always taught, like, you just go to God with all your problems, which I do believe you still need to do, but it's not always like the Bible where, someone is just miraculously healed, or, they pray and then it's which it may not be the case, but in the Bible it makes it seem like, they prayed, they fasted or something, and then they just were at peace. And in some cases that does happen, but other times it doesn't. And that's the struggling part I had, is I deal with a lot of, I don't like to label stuff, but I guess it would be considered an anxiety, probably a little bit of depression. I was getting very agitated, which I knew was not healthy or fair to my daughter, because, I felt like a bad mom. I would have moments where I would snap or just feel super agitated and irritated. I didn't feel like I was my best self, I guess. I felt like I needed help, and I need to get help now, because I don't want this to affect my daughter later on. So I just recognized that this wasn't working. What I was doing wasn't working, and the bottom line is I needed to go somewhere else, to someone, to get the help that I needed. And so I did. I was kind of anxious about it, because I've been to a therapist before, but I would not really call it a therapist. I'd call it like a counselor, which I don't really know the difference between a counselor and a therapist. But anyways, the lady that I went to originally, way before I got pregnant or anything, she was in training, so I just feel like she didn't quite have the experience for what I needed. And she was like a Christian counselor, which there's nothing wrong with them, but I feel like sometimes they focus too much on just preaching to you, and not enough of, let's get down to the issue kind of thing. And I didn't need someone to preach to me. I needed somebody to help me understand my issues, and to understand how to process stuff. And I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, whenever you go to like a Christian counselor, at least from my experience, they kind of get mixed religious into it too much, and so they don't really help you with the actual problem. They're just like, well, just pray to God, Which, again, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work and that it's not important, but you also need the other side. But anyways, so I found a lady, and I do believe, I prayed about it a lot. Like, I prayed, help me find someone, help me find the right person that will help me. And thankfully, praise to God, I did. I found a lady, which is really weird. It was just an interesting story, because every person that I was picked, I just Google searched around my area, and I was just like, a therapist. I didn't know where to start. I don't really have anybody that I know of that goes to a therapist. So I didn't have any references. I didn't, it's not like I could just be like, hey, who's your therapist? And they refer me, So it was just kind of, I don't know. It was just kind of like, I was just like, Google it. I was just like, okay, which one? And so I went through the list. I kind of researched them a little bit. I read reviews and things, and I really do feel like God is the one that helped me find the lady that I'm going to, because it wasn't like I picked one and then be like, bam, that was the one. No, I picked like a couple and they were like always booked up. They'd be like, sorry, not taking new clients, we're all booked up. So then I'd go down to the list again, I'd be like, all right, well, which other one? And it's funny, the one I actually chose, again, I contacted them, I was like, hey, do you have any openings? And she was like, no, I'm all booked up. And I was like, great. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, go back to start. But then she emailed me and she was like, but my colleague, or the person that they share an office space with, she has openings. And I was like, okay, can I have her information, so she gave me her email address, and then so I messaged her. But the funny thing is, I don't think I would have found this lady if it hadn't been for the other lady referring me to her, because I don't even think I remember seeing her name like on the list of the Google search. But anyways, that's why I kind of feel like God had his hand in it, obviously, because yeah, she's been great. So I've been going to therapy, and you may be like, why are you going to therapy? Well, I wasn't going to therapy. Well, I knew how I felt, how I'd been feeling. I'd been feeling, agitated, just, I was getting really irritable. I was also, I don't like to put labels on things, but I was probably dealing with some sort of depression. Depression, I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to say that I'm dealing with these things because I don't want people to be like, okay, so you're fitting in this box. I don't like being put in a box, because not everyone that deals with things is like people that we see online. Like, sometimes I feel like people, like, I'm not trying to downplay people, but I feel like some people, they get online and they just say, I'm dealing with this, and then they just make this whole image about what that thing is. And then so if you say you're dealing with something, you're like, oh, you must react this way, you must look like this. And that's not always the case. We deal with things differently. But anyway, so I probably was dealing with a little bit of depression, but mainly I went because I have a lot of childhood issues. I was raised in a household that was very controlling, mostly my dad. My mom, I have no issues with her, it's my dad. My dad was very controlling, very abusive, not necessarily physically, but emotionally and mentally, very abusive. So I still carry a lot of that with me to this day, and I've known that I've always had those things that I've carried with me, but I never knew how to deal with those things. I didn't know what to do. And so this lady is helping me dive into these issues. We're diving into my childhood right now, and she's helping me process a lot of these things, probably is what I would describe it as, which is what I needed help with. I didn't know how to process these things. Nobody teaches you how to process these things, and I don't like to use the word trauma because I feel like people throw that word around lately and just they've diminished the word. To me, trauma is something very serious, and I know, like my therapist says, like, you shouldn't downplay other people's traumas and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to, but at the same time, I feel like people just throw it around so loosely. Like, they're just traumatized by some of the littlest things, and I don't know, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like people telling me their traumas or things. Not that I don't want to support them and be understanding, but at the same time, some of the times I look at some of that stuff and I'm just like, that's really not that big of a deal. You're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill kind of situation. Which, again, maybe that's not right for me to do that, but, which I don't do that to people. I just don't like, I don't like talking to other people about their traumas. Like I said, if it's something like that I think is not very serious, I have a really hard time relating because of the things that I've gone through as a child. Like some of the things with my husband's family. They like to throw that word around, and I really don't want to get into that and say names or anything because I don't really want to talk about his family, but I'm just using them as an example that they'll be unhappy with some certain things, and it just makes it hard because I'm like, you guys don't realize, family is very important to me, and they come from a way better family than I did. and I just see it as you're not being appreciative or thankful for what you've been given. You know, they had a good dad, or they have a good dad, and just things that they would do, it makes it really hard for me to relate with them. But anyways, getting off topic. So she's helping me deal with some of the traumas that I've gone through as a child, and just really kind of opening, I guess, my world a bit, because I didn't realize how much some of the things that you go through as a child can kind of form you as an adult, I guess. I'm probably not using the right wording or anything, but I hope you guys are understanding me. How it shapes you as a person in a way. And basically she's teaching me, or showing me, that I'm going to have to rewire my brain, basically, because of the things that I was taught, or the things that I went through. It's wired my brain a certain way, and that's how I react to certain things, or why I feel a certain way. So I'm having to retrain my brain, which is not easy. But I'm doing it. I'm working on it. We're still unfolding a lot of stuff, so I can't really say that I have like a complete picture of what I'm working with and how to fix it, but little by little we're diving in. We're finding new things, which has been great. Yeah, it's been a really refreshing, I guess, experience so far. Yeah, there are moments that are really hard, and some days I come home and I'm like, that was really, refreshing. I learned a lot, and other days I'm like, I don't know how I feel right now. But yeah, it's been a really good experience. So mental health, yeah, it's very important. And again, that's another one that I feel like people take to the extreme. But there is some importance to that. Mental health is important to a degree. I guess that's my biggest life update right now, is that I'm going to a therapist now. I'm in therapy, and I'm trying to figure out my head, basically. And it's a struggle. And I guess in a way of me talking about this or sharing this with you guys, I hope I can come across as relatable, because it's easy to see people like on TikTok or on YouTube, and you think, oh my gosh, that person looks like they have their life together. They look so happy. You never know what's going on behind closed doors. And I don't ever want to be one of those people that you look at and you're like, wow, that person really just looks so put together and, so happy, and must not have a problem, must not have a worry, kind of thing, because that would be lying, because I am human, and we all have our struggles, and we all have our issues that we're working through. I do hope to someday, I guess, be a person that doesn't have as many issues. I think you're always going to have issues, because if you don't have issues, you don't need God, in a way. And I never want to not need God, because yeah, God's very important. So I hope to someday my issues be a lot less, and that I can find that peace that is always talked about in the Bible. I haven't found it yet, unfortunately, but I'm working to finding it. I know it's there. I need to get my head in order. It's a me thing. It's not God. It's me. I'm the problem. But yeah, I don't know. I also think that it's kind of important to also talk about this as a person that a believer, or, someone that believes in God, because I feel like, not that I've really experienced it, but I feel like it's just not really something that we talk about, like I said, we're kind of taught that you're supposed to go to God with all these issues, and that's how you get through it. And I don't believe that it's bad to go to a therapist. I think if you have issues, I think you should get the help that you need. I don't think there's any shame in that, and I don't think that means that you're not someone that believes in God. What I'm trying to say is, if you believe in God and you still go to a therapist, I don't think that's wrong. I think, trying to word this, I wish I had enough faith that I could just pray about it and it be gone, but I don't, They say, what do they say? They say, if you haven't, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically, if you had faith as big as a mustard seed, you'd be able to move mountains, and a mustard seed is so tiny. And if that's how much faith you need to move a mountain, that's crazy, because it makes me feel like, wow, I have no faith at all if I can't even move a mountain, because all you need is a mustard seed amount, and it's so tiny. So faith is hard, and I don't know, where am I going with this? I just feel like going to therapy gets a bad rap, at least in the Christian faith. I feel like some people just kind of look down on it, saying like you don't have enough faith to fix your problems with just God. I just don't agree with that mindset, and I'm here to say that I don't agree with it, and I think that you can still have faith in God and believe in God and still go to a therapist, but that doesn't mean that you don't believe in Him and that you don't have faith in Him. It just means you just need a little bit of help. And, back in the Bible days, I feel like, they got, God talked to them more personally, whereas nowadays, some people still have those testimonies, but not everybody does, and I think sometimes we're led down different paths, and I feel like I believe this is the path that I've been led down, is to go more of a non-traditional way, I guess. I don't know if that's the right wording, but especially like when it comes to like the medical side, I feel like last year I was led down a medical path. Like I was being led to go to doctors and things like that, things that I normally didn't ever do, because again, I was taught, just pray, believe in God, have faith, and everything will be okay. And again, not saying that that's not true, but sometimes I think God is putting us in different situations to be like, I need you to trust me in this situation. Yes, you're going to go down the medical path and you're going to have experiences in the hospital, but you can still have faith in me that everything will still work out. But it's not that miracle way of you pray, bam, it's all better, I wasn't able to give birth to my daughter like I had hoped I would, and I didn't have to get a C-section. I chose to get a C-section, but I was still trusting and had faith that everything would work out, and it did. But, compared to somebody else who'd be like, well, I gave birth naturally and I had no problems. It was my faith that kept me from having any issues, which again, could be true, but that doesn't mean that my faith was any less than theirs. It's just, I guess God had a different testimony for me. I think sometimes we all compare our testimonies, and we're like, well, if you didn't do exactly like me, that must mean you didn't have enough faith. No, not necessarily. It just means that God has a different path for me. Our paths don't always look the same. I think that's what the bottom line I'm saying is, not all of our paths are the same. Yes, some people have more faith than others, but that doesn't mean that that other person is wrong or doing wrong. It just means that they're not at that same point yet. Alright, is that everything I wanted to say? I think that's basically the gist of it. So yeah, I know this is a very different type of video than what I normally do on my channel, and you guys will have to let me know if you like these types of videos, because if you do like these types of videos, then maybe I will do more videos like this. I don't really know what I would do, so I would definitely need suggestions on what types of videos, if you like these types of videos, to do, because right now this is just a vent and getting stuff off my chest type of video right now, which I don't know if I'll need to do that every month or every week. But I do kind of want to connect more with you guys, but I'm not really sure how to. So maybe you guys can have some suggestions down below of what types of videos I can make that are kind of more of a connecting type of video and not just a showcase products type of video, which I still like doing. Like I said, I like doing reviews and I like giving my opinions on things, but I don't want that to be the only thing that I do here on my channel. I guess I want more meaningful videos, but I'm just not really sure how to do that. So I am open to suggestions. If you would be so kind as to leave some down in the comments for me, that would be much appreciated. But yeah, I think that is everything that I want to say. I mean, yeah, that's the tea I'm going to a therapist right now to deal with childhood issues. I guess if you guys want to know more about that stuff, I might be open to talking about it. I don't want to, the only hesitation I have is if anybody I knew saw this video. Not that I am scared for people to know my past or anything, or my struggles or things like that, but I feel more, I want to be careful with what I share because I also want to share with you guys, but I also don't want people in my life to know everything about me without actually talking to me. Does that make sense? Like, I don't mind sharing things on the internet, like in my videos, because I don't actually see you guys in my personal life. Like, I don't come face to face with you guys, so I guess I can keep kind of boundaries and things. But when it comes to like people in my life, like that I see day to day, I don't really want them knowing a ton about me without actually talking to me, because that would make me feel violated. Even though I would be the one sharing that stuff, it would make me feel weird, I guess. So I don't mind sharing, things that I've gone through or my experience and stuff, but I would still probably give a more, maybe vague, not really vague, but just not detailed, I guess. I would give the vague version of it, I guess, in a way, with still giving, like, I don't know how to explain that, because I just don't want people to, like, if I talked about my childhood, I don't want people that, may know my mom or something, and then me give details about that stuff, and then them look at her badly or something like that, because that's not the point of me sharing my experiences. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to make someone look bad. It's just simply talking about what I'm going through. So I guess I would want the focus to be more on me in a way, as to not, other people that are involved. I guess that's what I'm kind of meaning now that I'm thinking about it. I don't care if people know stuff about me. I don't want people to know stuff about my family that is not really mine to tell, kind of thing, if that makes sense. But there you go, guys. That is going to do it for today. That is my little chatty video slash life update slash me venting and just being kind of vulnerable in front of you guys. Like I said, I don't want to ever portray myself as just someone that is rainbows and sunshines and that never has a worry in the world, because that is just simply not the case. Like I said, I'm very human. I have issues. I have things that I struggle with in my day-to-day life. I'm not perfect, but at the same time, I also do want to have fun on this channel, and that's why I do the makeup stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching if you've made it this far. Sorry if this video is kind of all over the place. Like I said, I just kind of needed to get some stuff off my chest, and I don't know why that was on my chest, but it was. So I made this video. But I do hope that someone out there may be able to relate to me, or not that I want you to all have problems and relate with me, but I hope that be relatable to someone that, might hear me talking about stuff and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm not doing so bad, I'm not a failure or anything because I'm going to a therapist. Not that I think if anybody is going to a therapist that you're a failure. I think it is quite an achievement in a way to be able to say, yeah, I have things that I need to work on and I need to get some help. And you're not a failure for going and getting that help. I think that's very much the opposite of failure. I think you're doing great if you're seeing a therapist and working on yourself, and being able to admit that you do have issues is actually a really big thing. So you're doing great. But there you go, guys. That's going to do it for today. Yeah, I'm just going to end this now because I can probably still keep on chatting. But yeah, thanks again so much for watching if you made it this far. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up because that does help my channel. And also let me know down in the comments, like I said, if you have any ideas for video suggestions. Please leave them down below, because like I said, I kind of want to do more meaningful videos on my channel. I'm just kind of lost as to what to do. But if you guys have any suggestions, or this may just be a one-time video, I don't know. But other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!